Hello people, my name is Kimothy3Lol, the Rat Man, and today I am going to be doing a tutorial on how to build in Little Islands. Now, there are many different techniques you can use, many different building styles, but today I will just be showing you the basics of both the part menu, the saves files, and the building tools. Now, I will note when you join the game, generally you will start off with your tools right here. You know, your sword, your glider, your axe. To access the building menu, you will have to press F or press this button right here that says build, and it will show your tools. Now, the game is being reworked a little bit, and there are some things that might be a bit broken, but there is a simple fix for most things for now. Now, for example, if you spawn in the game and your tool is just not working, and this little thing right here is completely black, this is called Raymond, our little building tool. If it's completely black, you must rejoin the game, and that will fix your issue. Now, first things first, we're going to start off with going through every tool. Now you can see there's a bunch of different things here, and it might seem a little bit overwhelming because you're not sure what any of these do, but I will be going through every single one. Now, let's start with the move tool. This tool right here is the most basics of basic tools. You will need it to move around your builds, drag around things, and of course relocate old builds that you might have. It's very simple. If I spawn a part right here, you will see that there are these little orbs. Now, you do not actually have to use these orbs to move around your block, but they are quite useful as they do prevent errors and different things from your builds. So sometimes if you would like to have something not mess up, it would be nice to use these. Basically, how you use this is you grab one of the orbs right here, any of these orbs, and it will move in that axis. See that? Now, there's another way to move around these blocks, and it is to just hover over the block or thing you want to move and hold click. Now, when you hold left mouse button, you just kind of drag around the block wherever you want. Now, this is useful if you're doing an individual brick. But if you're, for example, dragging, let's see one of my builds here. If you're, for example, dragging something like this, it gets very laggy. And that lag can cause some desync, which can relocate blocks in places you don't want them to relocate. Because the game is doing a lot of processing and computing to know where those blocks are, and it's not very accurate sometimes. This is Roblox. Now, you will see here, when you drag your tool, there's a bunch of things here on the side. There's increments, global, local, last. Now, these are not going to be very important for now, like these three in this tutorial, but later on, when we are building something, I will be showing you the use of these tools. Now, the most important thing, in my personal opinion, when you start building is the increments. You'll notice the base increment will always be 1, and you'll notice when you move around a block, it will move 1 stud, no matter what. Now, if you want to change this, you just go into your increments, and you change it to whatever you'd like. So I will go with like 3. Now we'll move in 3 studs. It's a really useful thing, and it even works for numbers under 1 increment. So it could be 0.125, which is my personal favorite increment. And you'll see how smoothly it moves up and down. And, this is the base of your tools. You'll see this position area right here. Now, this is not really important right now, but this is where your block is in the world. You can use it to locate, and sometimes you can use it to, for example, I can show you here. If you would like this block to be on top of this block, but it has like a strange rotation or location, and you don't really know how to rotate it, you can just copy these positions into these right here. So if you go 109, boom. Now we're gonna be going on to the next thing, which is these tools down here. Now you'll see you can click these if you'd like, but these are very useful because there's a lot of things you can do with this. So, for example, you have two blocks, you have a build, and you don't want to select all of them all the time, like drag select them and move them around. You can press Shift G, or you can press the group button right here, and they will be grouped together. And now you just have to click on them and select them, and you can move them around freely however you want. Now, if you want to undo this group, you press Shift and U, or, ungroup down here. And that will just ungroup them and separate the blocks. Another good hotkey here is the delete key, which is Shift and X, which will delete any block that you do not want. And, of course, we have the undo button. So if you delete something and you press Shift Z, you will undo something. But if you press Shift Y, you will redo something. If you spam use these, sometimes it'll break. It's a very unfortunate thing, but you know how Roblox is. The computer can't compute how fast we are, and it just forgets things sometimes. Down here, we have the clone, and if you press Shift-C, you can copy a block, and it's the same if you have something grouped. You can press Shift-C, and you can copy the group. It'll copy it exactly where it is, so, you don't have to, you can, for example, let me copy this train right here. You don't have to remake the train over again. You can just copy it. Another thing that's pretty useful is the Explorer tab. Now, this thing is going to get clogged when you have a lot of builds. But a very useful thing to use in this is, for example, you see how we have this base plate right here. And when we're building, we're going to be doing a lot of dragging and like moving bricks. And it will be very annoying to keep selecting this thing. So what do? Well, we go to the Explorer tab. First, I would recommend selecting the brick you want or group you want to prevent from this happening. And you go to your Explorer tab. You can press Shift H. And here's your selected brick. And you'll notice this little lock right here. Now, if you click this lock and unselect your brick, you'll notice no matter what, you can't select this brick. And that's a good thing. Because if you have a base plate like this, it's very annoying to constantly grab it by accident. Sometimes you can't undo it, and you have to remake it or replace it. It's a hassle. And if you want to select this brick again, you have to find it in your Explorer, which is very annoying if you don't have it named. And you can just unlock it, and now you can select the brick again. I'm going to keep this locked for now. Another thing here is the free cam. Now, if we go on a free cam right here, you can see we can move around our camera however we'd like to explore different things. And it's very useful. You can get into spots that you can't do normally. You can get into the fine detail. It's a very useful tool. Now, here we have the transfer selection. So say I had a friend right here. My friend was right here, and I pressed transfer selection, and I selected them, and transferred this brick. They would have to type in chat transfer accept Vibo. It can't be your display name. It has to be your actual in-game name. And it doesn't have to be the full name. For example, I typed Vibo, even though my name is the boy upstairs. Um, you don't have to type the full name. You just have to type enough letters so the game recognizes that it's you. And that is all the tools right here. Another useful thing is if you don't want this HUD to be in your way every time you're building, you can press H, and it will move the GUI around. It has three options. It has this one, it has the main one, and it has this corner one. You know, be useful. What more do we have to show here? We have the relocate build, which can be used to relocate your old builds or just basically anything really. It can select a higher brick amount and relocate it without crashing your computer. But it is very laggy for the server, and I wouldn't use it unless it's necessary. And you can always just go onto the Little Islands game and get a private server and do it there if you don't want to bother anybody. Move out. We can move towards the next tool. Sorry, guys. Okay, so you take your brick and you press 2. This is the resize tool. Now, the resize tool is very important if you just don't want to use, singular brick for everything. You could just like, boom, build on top of each other like old Roblox, but you will need this tool for most of your builds. Now, it has the same principles as the move tool. You can use these orbs to resize your brick. You can see here. You can change the increments. Boom. You see that? It changes in different increments. You can make it smaller than it already is. And you'll see these directions right here. Now, say if I want to have both this axis right here and this axis right here to resize at the same time, I would click both and they would just do it on their own. Now, you can't really drag resize like you could with your move tool because I don't know how that would work. But you can, now you remember down here, this used to be position, now it's size, and this will tell you the exact size of your brick. And you may change it however you'd like. Sometimes if you're going into lower increments, like 0.05, you have to change the size manually. So say if it's like this, I can't go lower than that because that's the max. But if you go into the size increments right here, you can go lower. Now, this used to not be a thing in older versions of Roblox, but things have changed now, and you can make even smaller blocks if you'd really like, as you can see. It has its uses for whatever you'd like to build, if you want to do a fine detail in your build, or if you want to do a mini build of some kind. But we're not going to be doing this today. That's the basics of the resize tool. Very useful tool. Now, if we go into 3 right here, we're going to be seeing the rotate tool. Now, you said we have different pivot points right here. The center is basically just going to be the center of the block. Now, it will rotate from the center no matter what. This is a good thing. Well, you see, if you have multiple blocks, it will still take from the center of these blocks and rotate it from there. Now, you could change this to like local, for example. Now each individual block would rotate. That's pretty cool. Or you could do last, which will pick the last block you've selected and rotate it from its center. Now you can see it's rotating from the center of the block to the right. That's how that works. And you can change increments of rotating, but I recommend using 15 because, you know, it'll rotate it like specifically on what you need. So if you want to rotate it 90 degrees, 15 is always a good measurement because it will rotate it however you like. But if you want to rotate it to something odd, you could always just go one increments, and you can see how it rotates like this. But you will see the problem right here of that is that it will float error sometimes. You notice how it's 130.004 even though you only picked one increment. That's because Roblox sometimes can't really process that you're rotating it like that, because it's a lot of things to process, because each rotate is one increment, and it will mess up the numbers. But it isn't really that bad of a thing. You can see that if you get it to 180, for example, it rotates to a perfect fine point. Next up is the paint tool. Now, this tool is useful because if you want some color in the world, you use it. Now, we have some preset colors right here, and all you have to do is you have to click on your block and pick a color. Any color you'd like. Now, you know, you can make your own custom color by pressing this little palette right here. And you will get a little menu right here, and here you can just pick from any of the colors you like and make your own custom color. Most builders do this to get their own specific colors. I'm not very talented with colors, so I usually just use one of these presets and maybe change the value of it a little bit. That's how this works. And like, for example, if you would like to, if say you have a block that you want to get the same color as of, you know, you just want the same color as, like, for example, the space plate color, you would have to take your tool out, and you'll see there's this little dropper here. You can't really click it, but what you can do is you can hover over the block you want to copy the color of and press R, and it will color it the exact color you want it to be. It can be anything from this. That is very useful. The same principle goes for this tool too. It will copy the materials of anything that you press R on. But the material tool, you will see you have a lot of options of different materials. You can go for mud, and this will just change the texture of the block itself. It'll go for salt, sand, sandstone. It's really anything you like it to be. And you'll notice here transparency. Now this is to make your block transparent if you would like. So for example, if you're making a window, you would go 0.2. If you make it 1, it will just become invisible. It just becomes completely invisible. Now, there's also reflectance, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't work for some blocks. For example, it doesn't work with basalt, but a good thing it works on is glass, smooth plastic. You'll notice the higher you go, the more reflective the block is, but it kind of changes the color a little bit and messes it up. You can even go in the negatives to get some funky stuff going on. You can see it gets a little bit crazy. Here's Pivo. It gets a little bit crazy when you do this. That's the material tool. Now, if you go into your 6th tool, it's the anchor tool. Now, this tool is very, very, very basic. It's just 2 options: anchored or unanchored. Anchored, of course, is just a solid block that can't be moved. Nothing happens to it. It's just completely still wherever you place it. Now, if you press unanchor, it gets physics, and it follows the laws of gravity, as you can see here. Now, it can change depending on what material it has. It can become heavier. It can become more slippery. There's a lot of properties it changes. The material is dependent on when it's unanchored. So it's very good for mechanics when you're, for example, making cars. If you would like to see how you make cars, there's a previous tutorial. I will put it in the comment section, and you can go and just look at that real quick. Now, the unanchor tool is very simple, and the next tool is also very simple, which is the collision tool. This will basically make it so you notice how when I go into this block, it just is an obstacle in my way. Now, if I turn off collisions, I can just go straight through it, no matter what. That's how the collision tool works. Very simple. Now, this next tool is a little bit more advanced. The surface tool. Now, this tool, you can see here, it's a little bit bugged right now, but it's just how FDX is. It just adds surfaces to your blocks. So you can see here, you have a bunch of options from hinges, motors, universal, welds. You can use these for many different things. For example, if we take a weld and we take another block above it that has a weld on all sides, it will stay together when you unanchor it. Now, there is a better way to weld things on Roblox, but this used to be a standard because this weld would always save. But now Little Islands has gotten a little bit better, and you can always save welds no matter what. We also have hinges, and hinges correspond. They correspond to the vehicle seat. Now, for example, if you had a vehicle seat right on top of here, you would be able to control the hinges and make them spin, whatever is attached to it. You know, I go more in depth to this in the car tutorial, but you know, it's not really anything special. And the motor is just basically, it just spins without any control. So you can attach something to a motor and it will just spin. It won't really rotate, it will just rotate around a hinge, really, is all it does. It's not really anything special. Universal is kind of like welds. I'm not really sure. Studs kind of adds studs to your bricks. If you have it in plastic. Where's plastic? There. You'll notice how there's studs on your bricks. Now they can be attached to inlets if you really wanted to. It's just like a weld. This is kind of like an old Roblox thing. You know, that's the surface tool. You can pick on whichever side you would like to change the surface. So here, I put a hinge on the top of this surface on both blocks. Next tool is the weld tool, and this tool is very, very useful when you are making cars and other unanchored builds, because it will weld your bricks together no matter what. And these bricks are saved through save files, so you don't have to redo them every time. And all you have to do is select all your blocks and press weld to last. And once you unanchor them, they are welded together. Next thing up is the lighting and decorate tool. These are very old tools, but these are the basics of any lighting you want to do in the game. So if you want to change the time of the game, you know, there's the server time game, which is the standard, and this is for everybody as long as you don't toggle it. But once you toggle this, you can change it to any time of day or night you would like. And for now, I'm just going to put it on on just nighttime, so you can see what all these stuff with all these do. This is the spotlight, and it will pick a surface from which it will do a light on, and for now it's doing this side right here, and this works just like a spotlight. And you can change the brightness. Boom. You can change the color of the light. You can change the range of the light, so it goes even farther. You can change the angle. You can add shadows to it. You can change the sides of whichever you want. Yeah, point light is. I'm actually not quite sure what point light does. It might just make a light all around the block, no matter what. Is what I think it does, at least. You can change all the same things you can do in the spotlight. Like now, the surface light is the one I use most of the time, and it basically adds a light on a specific surface, like above a specific surface. And you can rotate it, and it will have light on whatever surface you'd like. Now, you can't do this with a spotlight, because the spotlight will always be the same size no matter what. Surface light will just have the same surface size as the block that you're using. You can change the same things here. Now, these are not really used anymore, but you can still use these decorative tools. You have smoke, which makes a smoke particle. You can change the color of this, the transparency of this, change the size. You can change how fast it goes, and it's basically the same for all of these. Now this just so heat just makes it go up a lot longer. You see that? That's it for these tool. Now there are even more tools. If you go onto your zero tool right here, your lightning tool, and hold R, you will see there's a bunch of different tools here. We have the reflect tool. Let's start with that. Now the reflect tool is a very useful tool when you are building. Basically what it will do is it will reflect any block. You pick the surface you want to reflect it from, and you align it. Now sometimes you have to be perfect with this, sometimes you really don't. I don't use this tool a lot, even though I should. It's very useful, and it will reflect the block perfectly, as you can see. Then there is the arc tool. Now this tool will make an arch, and you can just, it's a bit finicky. I'm gonna be honest with you. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and it's just better to make your own. Now you can just do this, and it will render whatever angle you want it to render at. You can flip the axis. It could be useful in some situations. I don't really use it that much, to be honest with you. Now, the config menu, this is your basic thing if you have a constraint and you want to change something in your constraint, or if you have a vehicle seat and you want to change something in your vehicles. Those are all the basic tools. In a minute, I will go through the different, how to save, for example, or how to place down a block. And we'll go through this together. And see you guys in a minute. Hello! Oh, give it a minute. Oh, hello! Welcome back. It's me. Get 1, 2, 3, lol. Now, we're gonna be going through the parts menu. Now, the basic blocks that you'll be working with are these blocks right here. This is the most basic of blocks, which is the brick. And you will see there's advanced meshes here, different shapes you can use for your builds to make things easier for you. And you can go through these and use them however you'd like. There's also legacy bricks. Now these can be useful. Some of these are useful, like the quarter frustrum. You won't see that a lot. They'll be very useful in different builds. Right here you got mechanics. Now, there's PvP boat seats, and boat engines. We've gone through how to make a boat and a plane. In the on the channel, you will see the videos down in the comment section. We also have weapons, which are cannons and aimable cannons. Now these are used in combat, which, in my personal opinion, is not as fun as they used to be. And then we have constraints right here, and there's a lot of constraints that I am going to have to go through one day. And these adds basic things like, for example, if you use this right here, you'll see there's a little rope. You can have things on a ceiling or anything you'd like right there. And then we have signs, of course. Now, if you click on a sign and press and go into your config menu that I showed you before, you can change the text. And you can change the size of the text. And you can change the color of the text. And you can even change the font of the text. There's a bunch of options here. My favorite is, where's the cartoon? Now you can have it scaled to the block if you want. Or you could just not have it scaled. I think that was supposed to work somehow, but it didn't. Now you have motors. Now these bricks are good in mechanics because no matter what, it will always be a rotational power. You don't really control it. It just spins around at different speeds, no matter what, as long as you have it there. There are different types of speeds. This is the slowest one. There's the 0.5, and you can make them even faster if you stack them on top of each other and unanchor it. So now you can see that it'll go a lot faster. And then you have the climbable brick, which is basically just a ladder, and it makes it so you can climb up. You can just walk up against it, and it will make you climb up it. And we have the particles. Now these are awesome. I love the particles. They're way better than what we had on this decorative tool right here. These are quite old, and they are mostly not used anymore because these are a lot better. We can take, for example, smoke. This is how smoke looks like. It's more fitting for the game. And, you know, there's a bunch of ones. The flames. I like the flames. And, what else do we have? We have different props. Now, these are just meshes of different things. You can spawn them with textures or without textures. So this is a wizard wand with the texture on, and this is a wizard wand without this texture on. So you can change it to whatever texture you want, but this one you can't really change at all. It will just stay the same. Now, spawning things with texture, I must say to you that sometimes when you're loading your build, it spawns it without a texture. Now, this is a bug. It's not supposed to happen, but it will probably be fixed in the next game. And over here we have hats and hairs. These are very useful for terraforming because they are very odd shapes, and they can be made. They can be used to make, you know, whatever you'd like. Down here are props that you can use for, I don't know, characters and other things. Right here is where you can get your mannequins, masculine mannequins, and all of that. And and then we have trees. Now these are the trees that are in the game that you can find on each islands. And for example, if we take that tree over there, you will see a Sahla tree, and you can press shift and U to unanchor it, and you can get every part of the tree. You can even get the leaves. That is that for those useful little knickknacks. The next one is the save files. Now, if you press Z, you will see a little save file right here, and this is your basic workspace. This is where my build is. This is the save file I have selected. You can clear workspace and delete everything that you have right here, but I wouldn't do that. A thing you can do though is if you go into a save file, usually it will be numbered if you just started off the game, but you can always change the name yourself. You can save the file, or you can load the file. And if you load the file, then you will load your build. You have different versions right here. And if you save the file, then you will make a new version of your save file and you can load it. This is very useful if you don't want to remake your builds like the old days every time you join the game. Now, that another thing you can do is you can add people to your workplace and build with them. I'm gonna get a person right here and we are gonna do it together. Hello people, I got a little helper here. This is Froby Lobry. He looks disgusting. So to share a save file with somebody, you go into your save file, and you will notice when you select whatever save file you want to share, there's a little thing called permissions right here. Now, I have already somebody permissioned, and you can add somebody by typing their full name. This has to be perfectly their name. It doesn't have to be caps in it at all. You can just type Froby Lobry and add them. It has to be their actual name and not their display name. And it will add them to the save file. Now, it will maybe say like John Doe or Jane Doe. That's just a visual thing. They're added to your save file if you have the correct name in there. Now, Fro is going to invite me the same way to his save file. So you go into the workspace, and you will see there is your save file right here, and then here's Fro's save file. Now, to switch to Fro's save file, you press Gyrocopter, that one that he has right here, and now you can access any of his builds, and any parts you spawn on here, you can see in the corner, will say it's Froby Lobry's build. You can't save, you can't load any of his builds, but he can save and load. And, you know, you can just build with your friend, however you want. Here, I can make a little hut for him. There you go. This is where you live now. And this is on his build. Now, say Froby Lobry wants to remove me from his save file, and he never wants me to build ever again on his save file. All he would have to do is go into his save file, go into permissions, and delete you from his save file. Now, it'll be a little bit confusing when it says John Doe and Roblox, but you can just delete everybody and they can't access it anymore. It'll kick me out. And if you want to switch back to your save file, you just have to press your workspace, which is right now is D&D. And that's all for this tutorial. Fro, do a little wave. Wave to the camera.